Going on, everybody? Welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Today we're reviewing Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm fresh out the theater. I'm devastated. This is a spoiler review. I have some notes right here. It's my first time, so I'm going to be a little unprofessional, but I'm trying. Alright, let's start off with Peter feels like his own person finally. Like, he feels more mature. He feels like his own guy. He feels like Spider-Man. He's doing things on his own. He's handling business, and I'm so happy to see that after all the MCU movies. Tom was always my favorite, but I did understand the critiques of Iron Boy Jr. and all that. So, thank goodness. And worst kept secret, Jean Grey. Even though I saw it coming, it was pretty surreal. It's like pretty much our first true MCU mutant, so that was cool. And I loved the dynamic of how Peter and Jean are basically two sides of the same coin in a way, like how they both suffered and lost somebody, but in different ways they lost them, so it changed them in different ways. Made Jean become a villain, rightfully so, honestly, because those people are pretty messed up. Alright, Hulk was pretty freaking terrifying, I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was gonna be more of the movie, but I'm glad that he was just in those scenes that he was in. They didn't overdo it or anything. Hot take, it was kind of scarier before he got into true Hulk form, when he was just walking around as smart Hulk, but mind controlled. Like the angles and how he was walking around and stuff. I was like, damn. And how he's running around chasing. I was like, oh my gosh, that's scary. But it was scary when he was he broke out of it, and then he was on the table and he was he's coming, get out of here. I was like, holy shit. That fight was pretty epic though. It was kind of sad too, when he was getting choked. He was like, it's me, Peter. And then Hulk slipped off the ledge. Excellent fight scene. Also, the fight scenes in general were freaking legendary. No CGI mess. Pretty much all of it was practical. Oh my gosh, and the whole man spider plot, that was so cool. How he was neglecting himself, Peter, and then when you saw MJ, and that was the final straw. This movie was sad, dude. I cried during that part. I think that was the first time I cried, when he saw MJ, because he had a hope that oh, I finally see her, and then it all just gets ripped from him. She's kissing some guy. She has a boyfriend now, and then he it destroys him, sends him into a panic. The MJ scenes were so freaking sad in this movie. I cried 3 or 4 times from MJ scenes. Oh my gosh, bro, when he was on the building with her, and then she was it was Jean controlling her, but he didn't know yet. She was I feel like we knew each other, didn't we? And she's freaking pulling at him. Jean is knows how to, and he was so vulnerable too, because he waited years for this moment. She took off the mask. She was like, I have to know. And they kissed, and in my head I was this is kind of corny that she remembers him through the kiss, but they did play on that. She was Jean was oh, you really thought it would be a princess fairy tale or whatever, the kiss awakens the memory. But oh my gosh, when they kissed, and then he was oh my god, you remember MJ? Oh my gosh, I miss you. And he was crying, and oh my gosh, that scene was phenomenal. And then I cried again when they were in the boat, and then she finds the note and reads it. Oh my gosh. Respect to everybody that worked on this movie for doubling down, because I honestly thought that they were just going to reverse the spell somehow. But they stuck to their guns. She read the note, and she was I'm so thankful for you for protecting me how you thought you should. And but like she was referring to old MJ as like a whole different person, like because she didn't have those memories. And she was like, "But I don't love you," and Peter didn't say anything. Like, damn, bro. Imagine the love of your life, like looking into your eyes and just saying that. And then he just sat there. He couldn't even. Oh my gosh! And another cute detail is like how he couldn't control his webs, but he mastered it for her. Cause like when he was swinging throughout the whole movie after he got the transformation, he like couldn't control it. But then like when he was like first with MJ, you could hear him in his head. He was like, swing, release, or whatever in his head. And he like finally learned how to do it to like protect her. Yeah, there's a lot of times I cried. Let me try to remember all of them. The freaking Aunt May scene. Oh my gosh. They went back to Homecoming, the ending. I'm glad they freaking retouched on that because that made the ending better, honestly. But yeah, that whole speech she had with him. And it gets extended on during the ending. With Jean Grey and how like that's another thing I was talking about, like the double coin thing. Let me turn this freaking fan off. How like everything she was telling Peter, it like meant something for her too. Like it applied to everything she was going through. Dude, the worst crying point for me was Peter got shot. Like I low-key thought he was gonna die. Like I knew they were just gonna bring him back with the symbiote or something, but still, like he like woke up, snapped out of everything, and then boom, he slid across the room. How hard he got freaking sniped in the back. Then he was like, "I'm okay." And then he fell. And then he was like, "You gotta get out of here. They're gonna come for you." And then you just see the blood. I'm like, bro, he's actually done. But thankfully he lived. Oh my gosh! And then Jean was breathing for him in the hospital. She like basically kept him alive because he was sitting there. And then she was like, it showed her breathing for him to let. I'm not gonna try to say it, bro. You know what I mean. Oh my gosh, the Ned scene. I cried there too. When like at the ending when he goes back into the shop and then he was gonna walk away and then he sees Ned. And then he walks up to him and then he tells him his real name. He's like, "I'm Peter." And then they do the handshake and then he was like, "Peter." And then it ends. I started crying. I was like, holy moly, dude. This movie's so good. It has to be a 10 out of 10. The only movie that's as sad as this for me is like La La Land. If you haven't seen it, you should. That's my favorite movie of all time. This might contend, honestly. I do think this movie is probably, I don't want to say it for sure because like I'm fresh off of it and it's recency bias, but it might be my favorite Spider-Man movie. Could be my favorite Marvel movie. Before it was Civil War, Captain America Civil War. But yeah. And then the ending, post-credit scenes. One post-credit scene. Where did he go? What happened? They didn't show anything about that. It has to be something with Doomsday or Secret Wars. So either he was recruited for Doomsday by like the Avengers and they're like on that spaceship as we saw in the trailer. Or what I'm thinking most likely is he's at Battle World now. That post-credit scene takes place after Doomsday. But what would he be doing the whole time during Doomsday? Like, I don't know. My best bet is that was him getting transferred to Battle World, but like, I don't know. Because like, I feel like if Battle World happens, like the MCU world will be gone. At least temporarily, so like, the device wouldn't be showing that, but like then again it was just like the device in a black background. Nobody was holding anything, so like they were slick, bro. They knew what they were doing. But yeah, that movie was phenomenal. I cried 8 times. And then I cried one more time after I got out the theater, just like reminiscing on what I just saw and like everything. It was beautiful. This movie changed my life. And by the way, that montage was pretty neat. And where was the No Way Home suit? It wasn't there, right? During the montage. Did I miss it? But yeah, phenomenal movie. Well, that concludes this video. Also, I got the Spider-Man popcorn bucket. Nice details. The freaking inhibitor chip. Where the frick it was called. I don't think you can take it off. But yeah. Obviously, I had to get that. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Whoever watched. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching my first ever YouTube video. There's more to come.